Well, here we are back after a little break and drinking our coffee. Still here with Steve Clark. But, Steve, I know you're from Chicago and I'm from New York City, and we both kind of transplanted down here in Pana about 45 years ago or so, about 50 years for me or more. But I remember Pana downtown back in the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, it was jumping. You couldn't find a parking spot on a Friday or Saturday. It was just shoulder to shoulder people. Every building had a business in it, and the business was thriving. And it was just a hub for a gathering place, a retail place for the whole area. But the one place I remember, probably the fondest memories I've had, was at Whiteys Pool Hall. I know
Yes,
you.
Sir.
Yeah, that was quite a place. It was a big old building. How many pool tables? I know they had one billiard table.
Seems like, to me, I remember 6 pocket billiard tables.
Yeah,
I remember a snooker table,
yeah,
and I remember a billiard table.
yeah.
And 2 or 3 pinball machines at least.
Yeah, it cost $10 to replace the glass on a pinball machine. I know that there was a lot of them replaced. It was kind of a rowdy place.
Could have been.
Yeah, Pana kind of, all the Pana's young men would go there, and sometimes it got a little rowdy. There was no girls allowed at Whitey's.
That's what broke my heart.
Yeah.
Why? Who were you going to show off to?
Yeah. Well, sometimes the language got a little colorful in there, and maybe old Whitey just didn't want the girls to be hearing that.
Yeah, I believe it was an old tradition.
He was a good old boy.
Yeah.
Old Whitey. You remember? I don't know, when I started going to Whitey's, it was 15 cents a game. Is that what?
I thought it was a dime rack, but it could have been 50.
I think it started out a dime when I first moved here in '68, and then I think they raised it up to 15 cents maybe a year or two after that. But back then, when you wanted to shoot a game of pool, there was a man called Yappy Thomas. You remember old Yap, don't you?
Of course.
He talked a lot.
Of course he did.
But old Yap, it was pay him the money, a dime or 15 cents, and he'd rack it up for whatever game you wanted to shoot. And then when the game was over, what'd we have to do? I remember we used to take that pool cue and bang it on that wooden floor and say, "Rack 'em up, Yap."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Remember Old Powerful?
I think I do.
Yeah.
LaRue Severe.
Is that his name?
That was his name.
I never knew his name.
He worked on automatic transmissions over Tower Hill. I heard he was one of the best.
I'll be darned. Well, we called him Powerful at Whitey's, and boy, he'd shake, didn't he? I mean,
I believe he had Parkinson's.
yeah, he must have, but nobody knew what it was back then. But Old Powerful, he had the shakes, and he always had a cigarette in his mouth, and he shook so much that there was never an ash on that cigarette. It always was red on the end because he shook too much, and it just would fall off. But when Old Powerful, when he'd level that pool cue on that table, the shaking would stop. And he'd usually run the table, wouldn't he?
It was a concentration thing, yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
He overcame that.
Yeah. Of course, there was always a card game in the back room. Some of the old timers would be back there and playing cards here and there. And what are some of your memories about Whitey's that maybe I?
Well, we like to practice up at Whitey's because those old 7-8 foot Brunswick tables were the real deal. The old leather net pockets, and especially if you shot enough snooker, and then went out on the bar tables where you paid a quarter for a game. it was like the pockets were so wide, it was like rolling a softball into a bushel basket. So if you shot enough at Whiteys, you did pretty good on those pay tables out around the area.
Yeah, I remember the pay tables. When you wanted to play, there'd be quarters just stacked up.
Yeah, whose quarter?
Whose quarter is that? Who's playing next?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I know that you had a song back then that you wrote about Whiteys Pool Hall. Would you mind singing that for us?
Not at all.
Well,
I wrote this one back in the 70s, just kind of a condensed version of what went on there, I think. Just some memories I have of it. It's about a big city boy that comes down to a country pool hall. Thought he was gonna do good till he got waxed. Well, I was fresh from Chicago, thinking I could shoot some pool. Walked into Whiteys Pool Hall on Saturday afternoon. There was kids and old men hanging all around. Freaks and bums and rejects, Lord, from all over town. There's a man that they called Powerful. He was shooting 369. Well, he looked so frail and he shook so bad, and he claimed he'd gone half blind. He was shooting with his buddy. Yeah, man, they all call you out. 'Cause if he ain't watching that roller derby, he'd never shut his trap. Well, I walked up to their table. I said, boys, you mind if I play? They shook their heads and said, hell no, the water's fine today. Well, I told myself, what a setup now, these hits can't shoot pool. Well, it took about 45 minutes to find out who was the biggest fool. Yeah, they started running racks on me, and I hardly got a shot. Well, I went there to win some money, but a headache was all I got. Well, I said, I guess I believe in you, boys, but you sure shoot a fine stick. I said, you can't quit now. We sent old Amos after coffee, and he ought to be back right quick. Well, I stayed for another hour, then 2, then 3, then 4. Long about 10:30 in the evening, old Whitey starts sweeping the floor. He said, make this game your last one, boys, 'cause it's beer drinking time. I said, I'd love to drink some beer with you fellas, but you took my last dime. Well, we walked across the alley, went inside the Ritz. I said, see, you brought your guitar, kid, why don't you pick us a country lick? Well, I picked and grinned to closing time. I said, boy, I think you're all right. As long as we see you again at Whitey's tomorrow night.
That's how I remember it, that's for sure. Well, thank you, Steve.
Amos Reed.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm glad to know you.
Pleasure's all mine, sir.
We've known each other for a few years now, I would say. We're going to be doing some more interviews with local people and some local talent. And you just keep watching our website at panahistorymuseum.org. Now, Steve's got a new CD coming out. Could you tell us a little bit about it, Steve?
Yeah, I've been working on it we recorded it in my log cabin, about 6 or 7 different sessions. We've done it time allowing, so it's taken a couple of years to get it all together. But as we speak, it's getting polished up, and I got the graphics done for it and everything. And I intend to sell them where I'm playing. And for people who want them, I'll be advertising it on Facebook. Probably it ain't no big business venture. Just have a few on hand to sell to people. And it should be done by the middle of this summer. I'll let
We'd be honored to have a few of them up here at the museum and sell them for you.
that'd be great.
And I believe we could probably advertise your CD a little bit on
That'd
our
be
website too.
Fantastic.
Maybe a link to how to get a hold of you or how to get a hold of the CDs.
It's got 12 songs on it, and 10 of them I wrote. So
You wouldn't happen to have Whiteys Pool Hall on there, would you?
Whiteys Pool Hall is on there.
Oh, good. Well, I'm getting one for myself then.
All right.
For sure. All right. Well, I thank you all for watching and hope to see you again soon.